Are you tired of rolling all those painful dice?
Exhausted with cookie-cutter missions and games that lack spicy goodness?
Ready to sink your mitts into a bag not provided by Fantasy Flight, only to pull out a token that you have to look up because you're not sure exactly what it does? Well, batten down the hatches and preheat the oven to 300, cause I got a game for you.
Greetings, potential suspects. Colin here with Red Beans of Dice, and today I'm going to talk to you about a board game, Arkham Horror. It's going to be a card building game, and it's a murder detective mystery type deal with a little bit of fantasy thrown in there. It's really good. It's 1 to 2 players. The thing that I like about this game is you can get this box right here with everything you need for about, I think it's like 35 bucks, brand new, 35, 40 bucks brand new, or if you want to find it on eBay somewhere, I think you can get it probably for like 20, 25 bucks, but I bought this from Game Nut, really good, very good game. They're still doing curbside pickup, so if you're in Lawrence, Kansas, give them a call. They can kind of let you know what they have, and they can do curbside delivery for you, so it's very safe, very quick, very efficient. So basically this is going to be a card game. Now I was actually turned off to this game in the beginning just because the games that I grew up on playing, they had dice, they had miniatures. This game has neither of them, so I was very hesitant to start playing it, but it got so many good reviews I figured for only 35 bucks I would check it out. So it's been really great. It's a cooperative game. You're going to build a deck, like I said. Starting out, you're going to want to play with the preset deck that they give you in the Learn to Play manual that they have for you. The one thing I will say about this is it uses tokens and they don't provide you a bag, but that should be pretty easy to find on your own. But it's been really good and I really enjoy it. The story is just really colorful, and I've had a good time playing with my friends, and it's kind of a hard sell at the beginning because it's, you know, a detective mystery kind of game, but you can really have a lot of good fun with it. And I'm going to show you basically the first scenario, and I'm going to kind of go through it. So there will be some spoilers to the plot. You'll figure out what's going on. I'm going to play through it, and just so you know, so some people might be a little turned off by that, but at the same time, I'm going to teach you how to play the base game and the beginning mission, and we're going to go through it, and I'm going to kind of give you little tutorials here and there and just kind of play through it, and I hope you like the video. So this campaign is called Night of the Zealot. We're going to be playing part 1, which is called The Gathering, and over here we have a card that kind of lets us pick the difficulty. So easy standard is going to be this side, and it's going to tell you what certain tokens in the chaos bag are going to do. And then if you flip it over, you can play on the hard expert. So we're going to be playing standard this time, so we're going to leave that just like that. So they want you to pick an investigator. So for this campaign, this part 1 of Night of the Zealot, I picked Wendy Adams and Roland Banks. Then you're going to pick a lead investigator. So I will go ahead and I'll pick Wendy Adams for the lead investigator. And then we have everything kind of set up here. We have our chaos bag in here that's going to have basically the tokens that it tells us to set up in the game. So there's all these random tokens that will affect your base score when you try to do a test for an ability. And I'll kind of explain that a little later. So I have my investigator decks assembled over here. It's basically going to be 33 cards. I'm doing the set that they tell you to do in the Learn to Play kind of manual that they give you. So it's in there. It'll tell you the exact cards that you need for them. So that's what we have here. And then you'll draw 5 cards. I went ahead and did that just to kind of speed things up a little bit. These are resource tokens. Now you're going to start out with 5, and then each turn you're going to get 1. And then each one of these characters during their turn gets 3 actions that they can perform. And then the cool thing about this game is that actually with each box set, I think you get 1 or 2 of these, which I'm going to try to focus in on it here real fast, but it kind of tells you basically how the round is going to go. And then, you know, it gives you a really clear-cut, detailed list of
what you need to do, and then you just repeat it. And then if you flip it over on the back, this is what I really like. It gives you all of your actions that you can perform. So that's a nice little thing that they can to give to you, because sometimes they don't give this to you. It's on the back of a rule sheet, and so I think you get one of these for, or well, 2 for each box set that you buy. So that's good. You can only play with 2 characters anyway. So I really like this, and I'll kind of go over some of the actions. You can draw a card or a resource. You can play an event card or asset card from your hand. You can activate an ability on your card. You can move, investigate your location, which I'll explain how to do. Fight or engage, or attempt to evade an enemy. And then we have a couple little symbols down here which you can use to, depending on what happens, you can use to activate and do something cool. So I'll put that right down there. And then up here we have some horror tokens. Then we have damage tokens. And then over here we have clue tokens. And now they're just, you flip them over, they're doom tokens. So doom tokens are bad. We're going to be putting them onto the agenda deck to progress it. So right now here, I'm sure you can't see that 100% because I didn't focus back in, but here we go. So there's a little 3 right here. Once this gets 3 tokens on it, you're going to go ahead and progress it, and then flip the card over, read what it's supposed to do, and then you'll actually move on to the next one, read that, follow any directions that it gives, and go on like that. So the agenda cards are bad. You don't want those flipping over, but it's going to happen. It's part of the game. And then the act cards are actually good. You'll use your clue tokens that you've been accumulating to put them over here. Once you gain them, you can use them eventually to put onto this card right here and progress the story. So one thing that I noticed is you kind of want to progress the story as fast as you can. You don't want to really sit around and try to do everything you can, because it's just, you will die. It's actually kind of a difficult game. So up here you have the encounter deck. And the encounter deck, they're going to tell you in the campaign guide which cards to put in there. And there's going to be a list of symbols, and you'll just basically take cards with the matching symbols and put them into here. And you're going to draw one of these per round for each of your detectives. And it's not going to be good. It's never good. It's something bad that just makes it a little more difficult. But it's there, and it tells you how to put together, and that's that. So basically, for part 1, the gathering of this campaign, there's going to be a little bit of fluff. I may or may not read that to you. It could get pretty lengthy, and then if you're into the story, it may ruin it for you. But so it's told me to put the study location into play, and then we have a couple of other locations that I've actually just kept to the side because that's what it tells me to do. And then it tells me to keep the Ghoul Priest and then Lita Chantler, it's not Chandler, it's Chantler, to the side. So following directions, being a good little soldier. Okay, and then it tells me to shuffle the encounter deck. I already did that, so we're basically good to go for the setup here. So you'll start off by reading part 1, the gathering here. This is the mission that we're playing. We already got everything set up the way that it needs to be. So I'll go ahead and read that to you. I don't really see any way around this. So. You and your partner have been investigating strange events taking place in your home city, Arkham, Massachusetts. Over the past few weeks, several townspeople have mysteriously gone missing. Recently, their corpses turned up in the woods, savage and half-eaten. The police and newspaper have stated that wild animals are responsible, but you believe there is something else going on. You are gathered together at the lead investigator's home to discuss these bizarre events. Okay, so you read what it told you to in the campaign guide, just to kind of give it a little more texture. So now you jump onto the board here, kind of, and you're going to actually read what these kind of state right here. So what's going on? This is the agenda deck right here. I'll read it to you. It is late at night. You are holed up in your study, researching the bloody disappearance that have been taking place in the region. A few hours into your research, you hear the sound of strange chanting from your parlor down the hall. At the same time, you hear dirt churning as if something were digging beneath the floor. Not good. Okay, then you go over to the act card and you'll actually read this. As you leap to investigate,
The door to your study vanishes before your eyes, leaving behind only solid wall. You're trapped inside your study until you can find another way out. Okay. All right, so that's that. Now we're actually going to have the lead investigator, who is Wendy Adams. I'll just put her little card over here just to make a little more sense out of that. So she will actually pick whoever is going to go first. So at this point, I don't think there's really any advantage to anybody going first or second. You can kind of discuss that if you're playing with two people, or if you're just playing solo like I am. You can go ahead and just kind of pick somebody and go for it. And so right now, in order to progress this the act deck, we need to get, so it's going to tell us right here.
This is what we just read right here. And so down here, that means you're going to have 2 clues per investigator to actually progress this, and then flip it over, and then you'll do what that says and then read the next card down there. So whenever you see this little hat symbol right here, that just basically means that it's per investigator. So we're playing with 2, so we need 4.
So I'll put that right back down there, and then I'll just show you
this little study card right here while I got it focused out. So this is the Shroud ability, or the Shroud stat. So basically that means if you want to search it, you need to basically score a 2 or higher. And then we're going to put 4 investigative clues on here, 2 for each investigator. So yeah, so 4. That's basically it.
So we got these little 4 tokens right here on here, and we're going to go from there.
So each investigator is going to kind of have their own unique set of skills. Over here we're going to see Roland Banks, and he's going to have 9 health, or damage that can be dealt to him before he has to leave the campaign. And then we have 5 horror over here. We have some special abilities over here that you can activate. So basically for Roland, if I defeat an enemy, I get to discover 1 clue at my location, and I can only do this once per round. And then if I draw this little star token out of the little chaos bag that I kind of mentioned before, that means that I will go ahead and just basically do whatever it says. And then there's a little bit of fluff on the back here, so everybody's deck size is about 30, and then it gives you what you can put in your deck if you don't want to use the preset. And then there's a little bit of fluff, you know, he's a Fed and yada yada yada, so there's some good stuff there. But that's just kind of the card. And then one of the main skills is up here. We have willpower, intellect, combat, and I think that's agility. So agility is kind of to evade enemies, or if, you know, it's like a quickness test if you need to test that. And then obviously this is for combat. This 3 up here with the book is going to be just what you basically need to investigate a site. And then the willpower it's just another stat. Sometimes it'll give you like if you draw from the encounter deck, there's going to be some cards that'll say test your willpower. If you don't make it, take a horror, take a damage. So that's just kind of how that works. And then obviously Wendy kind of has her own unique abilities, so we'll kind of just roll with the punches here, and we'll get through this, and yeah, all right. Just wanted to point that out to you, and we'll get going.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and activate Wendy first. So I have her cards here. I can play some of these. Now, there's gonna be numbers up in here in the upper left-hand corner. That's how many resources I actually need to play those. And then there's gonna be these little itty-bitty book and speed and combat and intellect signs. So basically you can either play this card and equip it or use it as is, or if you want to add to a skill bonus, you can kind of play this card and just use this up in here, or this little stat up here, to kind of add to your ability to do a skill check. And that's basically all that this game is about. It's about making skill checks and then drawing out of the chaos bag to affect it. Alright, so I'm going to choose Wendy Adams to go first. So she's got her deck. She's in the study right now. We actually have to get these clue these clue tokens to put it onto here to progress the campaign to keep it going. So with Wendy, she has the base skill, her intellect skill is going to be 3. So this is 2 right here. So you would think, oh, I'm going to use an action to actually, because, you know, it has to be equal to or greater than the shroud ability with your intellect to grab a clue token off here and then put it onto your little, onto your sheet to acquire it. So you would think, oh, I'm just going to use one action to grab this. Well, you can do that, but you have to actually jump onto this chaos bag. So you have to basically go in here and bring out a token, and that's going to affect your score. So let's say with my first action, I wanted to try to pick one of these up. So now I need to reach into this bag and then pull something out. So I got a -2, so that's not good. So her skill was 3, this -2 drops it down to 1. 1 is less than 2, Dodoy, so she actually failed that. Now, say for example, I'm gonna put that back into there, that I used one of these cards that I had in my hand before I did that test, and I used this card right here. So, as you can see in the upper left-hand corner right here, it actually, I could have used this and provided an extra skill to her intellect, which would have brought her skill up to 4, and then that -2 would have brought it back down to 2. So she would have actually gotten that. But because I didn't use that before I made it clear that I was going to actually try to grab a clue, she failed. So you can either use this card basically for, you can play it and use it as it says down here, or you can just disregard all of that and use it to provide an extra stat to the ability up here. And then there's going to be tricky ones that you can use, like for Wendy's amulet. You can see there's little question marks up here. That means that you can use this for any stat, so it's a really good card. This is actually one of her unique little cards. I was lucky to draw it in the beginning, so just let you know. Okay, so for my first action with Wendy, it didn't go so well. I drew a token out of here, -2, drops her down to 1, so she doesn't get the clue token, so that's not good. So with my second action, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play these 2 cards. So that'll give me +1 to my intellect, +1 to my intellect. So right now it is at 5. So I'm going to put these down into the discard pile. I can't grab those again. They're out of my hand. So right now I have the intellect, I bumped it up to 5. So basically a -1, a -2, or a -3, and I can still basically pass the test. So that's good. It gives you a higher probability of passing it. Okay, so that's good. So I bumped it up to 5. I got a -3 token. That's going to drop it down to 2. I still pass the test, and I get one of these. So I'll go ahead and I'll put this back into the chaos bag. And then for my last action, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try it again. And then I'll use Wendy's amulet this time. It's the card that I just showed you with the 2 question marks. I can use this for whatever, for an agility test, a combat test, an intellect test, or a willpower test. So I'm going to use it right now for the intellect. So I'm going to bump my base stat of 3 up by 2, up to 5 again, and I'm going to draw out of this bag because I want to get these clues and I want to move the mission along. Okay, I got a -2, so I dropped it down to 3. So 3 is still higher than 2, so I would go ahead and I would get this next token. And then when you're done with your character, you've activated, or you've used your 3 actions, you're actually going to flip it over to the black and white side just to indicate that you're done with your turn. So then we're going to go on to Roland. He's the next up. And we're going to go ahead and, actually, I haven't looked at his cards, so... Okay. So with Roland, I'm going to go ahead and I have a 45 automatic. And I'm going to need to pay the cost, which is 4. And then it's an asset, so I'm going to actually equip it. And then down here, it's got a little hand symbol. You have 2 hands.
you can have one thing in each hand, so that's just kind of how it is. So I have to pay 4 resource tokens, and I'll get rid of those, and I'll put the card into play, and then for ammo it actually uses 4 resource tokens just to indicate that you can use it 4 times. It's, I guess if you want to think of it as bullets, then go ahead. So I put that down. That's my first action. With my second action, I'm going to go ahead and try to pick up one of these clue tokens, and you know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and use this card right here. He's actually an ally, so I can have one ally equipped, and then he has health and then horror damage over here. So if I took health or horror, I could actually put it onto this ally. You can only have one. The first time I played, I think I put 2 into play once, so that's a mistake. But he's got this this intellect stat right up here. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm gonna discard that. Roland has a base intellect stat of 3, so that gets bumped up to 4. And then, like we do with everything, we're gonna have to dip into here. And, oh, okay, I got a 0. So it's not modified at all. I passed the test. And I'm going to go ahead and just put that right on there. Token goes back in there. And then, let me see here. Okay, so, you know what, I'm just going to, he has a base skill of 3. That's 2. So if I get a 0 or a -1, it's still a passing score, so let's see if I can get lucky. Okay, so I got a -1. Awesome. That's a really good draw. So I am going to grab this. I'm going to put it onto there. So now we have 4 clue tokens, which means we can actually progress this along. Okay, so I have 4 clue markers, and then I'm going to go ahead and basically use these. I need 2 per investigator, so 4, and I'm going to put them over here. And basically that progresses the act cards that we need to move along to basically finish the campaign. So you'll flip this over. You notice that the edges of your newly purchased rug are tattered and mud-stained. Finding this odd, you shift the furniture aside and pull back the rug. To your surprise, you see the door leading out to your study. You slowly turn the knob, the door swings open, revealing your hallway below. You jump through the doorway, landing on your feet on soft dirt. The door to the study slams shut above you. The smell of burning wood fills the narrow hall, intermingled, wow, great word, with the scent of rot and decay. Okay, so it's going to tell us basically some steps down here that we're going to need to do. It says, put into the play the set-aside hallway, cellar, attic, and parlor. Okay. So it says also discard the study from the game. So we're going to go ahead and put the hallway into play. So we're going to put it into play, and then Roland's done with his action. So to progress the act card over here, it's not an action. It's actually just kind of a free action, unless it says so on the card. So, okay, so there weren't any enemies in the study, so we don't have to throw those out. The study goes away. We're going to place each investigator in the hallway. So if you haven't investigated a room before, there's going to be a little key mark on it. And then if you have investigated or you move into it, you're going to flip that over, basically locked, unlocked, searched, unsearched. That's basically how you get to that. Okay, so it says to put each investigator in the hallway. We've done that. And then we're going to go ahead and put the attic card into play. We're going to put it face down. And then we're going to put the cellar card into play, face down. And then the parlor card into play, face down. Okay, so that was a pretty good first round. And we're going to go put this to the side, and then we took the card off. So now there's a little bit of fluff that we need to read here. So a glowing barrier blocks your path to the parlor. As you move towards it, intense heat forces you to back away. Picking up a handful of dirt, you toss it at the barrier and watch in horror as the dirt incinerates. Perhaps there's something in the cellar or attic that can help. Okay, and then down here we have an objective. So when the round ends, investigators in the hallway may, as a group, spend the required number of clues to advance. Okay, so we're going to put that there.
we need to basically acquire a certain amount of clues to, and we have to do it from the attic and the cellar. The parlor is fiery inferno right now, so that's no go. So we're gonna go ahead and try to get 6 clues. There's a 3 with the little detective sign here, so that's 3 per each investigator, so 6. And that's gonna be it for now. So we're gonna look down at our round sequence card just to kind of help us out here. So the investigators have all taken their turns performing 3 actions. So now we go to the enemy phase, which is part 3 of this. So there's no enemies on the board right now, so that's a good thing. So we move on. So we're gonna reset actions. If we had exhausted any cards, we would flip them back to activate them. We're gonna go ahead and flip our detectives back to active here. And then each one of us is going to, and there's no enemies, so we just move on to the next upkeep phase. Reset, flip minis, ready all exhausted cards. Each investigator draws 1 card and gains 1 resource. So 1 card here, 1 card over here. I'll kind of move that over there. And then each one of these guys is going to get a resource. Okay. So that's it. And then you can't have over 8 cards. You gotta, if you have over 8 cards, you gotta discard down to 8. So that's usually never a problem for me, but it does state that they want you to try and do that. Okay, so we go back up to the top. So something I forgot to actually mention is the first thing you're going to go through on this is the mythos phase, which you skip the first round. It says right up there at the top, so I skipped it. So now we've gone through, we go back to the top of the round sequence, and then the mythos phase is going to be the first one. So place 1 doom on the agenda. So there's that. And then advance agenda if the threshold is satisfied. It's not, it needs 3. Then we're going to go ahead and each investigator draws 1 card from the top of the encounter deck. Okay, so I'm going to start off with Wendy. And she has drawn rats. Oh no, okay. So she is going to basically be equipped or engaged with the rats. So since she drew this card, she is going to essentially have this card in her encounter area. I think it's what it's called. So she's going to have this engaged with her, and it's not good. So here's how much health it has. Here's how much strength you need to beat it. It's pretty weak. And then it has the speed ability of 3. So if you want to try to run away from it, that's how you kind of do that. So, okay, so she drew her crappy card over here. And so now I'm going to draw one for Roland Banks. So place 1 doom on the current agenda. This effect can cause the current agenda to advance. Okay, not great, but whatever. So we'll just put another doom onto the agenda deck. And that is going to be it. So you know what? I'm going to go... Oh, and then when we spawned in the hallway, just so you know, it does have a shroud ability, but it has 0 here. So there's actually going to be no clue tokens on that. So that's just how that kind of works. So, and then there's little symbols down here, like we have a blue triangle, a red plus, and then a green diamond. And then up at the top is basically going to be where you can navigate to. This is a little tricky, so let me know if you have any questions about this. But there's a red square here, and then all of these other rooms have a little red square here. So that means that from this room, I can go to that. So basically the hallway, just imagine it's the only way. You got to go up to the attic, back down, parlor, back down, cellar, back down. But the parlor, remember, is closed off. We can actually not go there until we get enough clues to progress the act deck. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to use Roland as my beginning investigator. And then what I'm going to do with him is this is actually engaged with Wendy at the moment. I'm going to use an action to actually engage with the rat since we're in the same location. Technically this is in the hallway. So I'm going to use an action to engage that. So I'm going to put that right over there. And then for my second action, I am actually going to fight it. And then the reason I did that is Wendy only has the
ability, or the one combat ability. So she's not a fighter, not very good. So Roland will kind of be the fighting guy from here on out. So he has a base skill of 4. This guy has a 1. I am actually not even going to use my automatic because I think the 4 is so high that I don't, and it only takes 1 damage. So it's just a swarm of rats. So I'm going to go ahead and attack it for my second action. So 4, and then it's got a base strength of 1. So basically I need to either draw a 0, a +1, a -1, a -2, or a -3. So hopefully I can do that and not mess it up. We'll see what happens. Okay, there's only one of these actually in here, a +1, and I drew it. So I do 1 point of damage to the rat. The rat goes away. That is basically it. It's one of the easier kind of enemies you can draw out of the encounter deck. So one of his special abilities I just want to add is if you defeat an enemy, discover 1 clue at that location. So if there were clues here, I would automatically get one. There aren't, so I'm not going to get one. Okay, and then I have one more action with Roland, and I'm going to take it to, oh man, I'm going to go ahead and move up into the attic. So once I move into the attic, I flip over the attic, and so there's 2 investigative tokens per investigator. So we get 2 little clues for each investigator. Put it on there. And then you're actually going to read. Sometimes these locations have a little bit of filler in there, and it just kind of tells you what to do. So force, that means it happens no matter what. After you enter the attic, you take 1 horror. So not great, but there we go. He's taking a horror. He's scared out of his goddamn mind. So that's my third action with Roland. I'm going to go ahead and flip him. And then with Wendy Adams, I am going to move up to here. And I'm going to try to get some of these clues. So first action I moved. Second action I am going to go ahead and just search. She has a base intellect of 3. And then the shroud ability is really low up here, 1. So it gives me a good chance to draw something good out of the chaos bag and not botch this horribly. So okay, so here we go. I finally got one of these. It's a little skull. So you're thinking, what the hell? Basically, you're gonna have to read this little card over here. It's the gathering, and then it has your difficulty, easy, standard, or hard expert. So like I said in the beginning, we're gonna do easy standard. So a skull means -X, where X is the number of ghoul enemies at your location. There's no enemies that are ghouls at my location. So I put this back into the bag. It's basically +0, and I get a little clue. So now I have 1 more action left, I believe, and I'm gonna basically go ahead and try the same thing. Why not? So I draw another one. Oh, a -3. Okay, that drops it down to 0. I don't succeed. Basically botched. No bueno. Okay, so that's it for these guys. They are done. And we're going to go ahead and navigate. So each investigator takes a turn performing 3 actions. They're both done. Enemies will activate. Anybody with the hunter keywords move forward to the investigator, yada yada, no enemies. So upkeep phase, we're going to flip over everybody and reactivate the mini cards. Then we're going to exhaust all readied cards, or we're going to ready all exhausted cards, excuse me. Each investigator gets 1 resource. Wendy's piling up on resources over here. Should probably use some of those soon. And then we're each going to draw a card. So make sure not to put that in a discard pile. Okay. And 1 card, 1 resource, good to go. We don't have over 8 cards, I don't believe. Nope, Roland's just got 5. Wendy's got 4, so we're looking good. So we go all the way back to the top, and we're going to go the Mythos phase. So place 1 Doom on the agenda. Advanced agenda if the Doom threshold is satisfied. So it needs 3 to be satisfied. It's got 3. So we're going to go ahead and take these off of here, and something bad is probably going to happen. Your house continues to change before your very eyes. The walls have decayed and the ground in many rooms has turned to dirt. It is almost as if you have been transported somewhere else entirely, although now and again you can recognize elements of your former home. So the lead investigator must choose one. Either each investigator discards one card at random from his or her hand, or the lead investigator takes 2 horror. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have 1 card discarded randomly from each one of our detectives' hands. That seems... I did this last time that I played, and I actually drew the card that I... okay, so that's kind of a good card, but it was randomly picked out, and we're just going to get rid of it. So now we're going to go to Wendy. I cheated because I know where each one of these cards are, I swear. No, I'm joking, I don't. Okay, so, it is what it is. Get rid of it. Alright, so that was basically it. So now we have a new agenda card here, and it's going to have a threshold of 7. So we'll read the little fluff here. So the door beneath you is giving away, and you see a vast network of tunnels twisting into the darkness below. Shapes and silhouettes of strange creatures move swiftly throughout the tunnels trying to find a way up. You probably don't want to be here when they do. Okay. Foreshadowing. Okay, so that's going to go there. And all that has happened, and we actually haven't even drawn from the encounter deck. So we put the Doom token on and progress the agenda. So now we're going to go ahead and draw 1 card from the top of the encounter deck for each investigator. So I'll just do Wendy's again. Okay, so she's got to test her speed here, grasping hands. So it's a revelation, so that means, I'm not exactly sure what that means actually, but you got to deal with it now is what I kind of take it for. So I'm going to test my agility, so that's actually good. She's got 4 for her agility. So for each point you fail by, take 1 damage. So I really want to kind of probably not botch this. So I have a card with a little agility symbol. I'm going to play that to raise my agility up to 5. So I need to at least get 3. So I have a base skill of 5 agility. Okay. Alright, I got a 0, so that means it stays at 5. 5 is higher than 3. This can go the heck away. Okay. And now we're going to do Roland over here. A ghoul minion. Okay, so that is just going to be a nasty little creature that is going to be encountered with him right away. And then how these guys do damage is, this is their toughness, how many life they have. This is their agility stat. And then down here, it might be a little hard to read, but there's a little heart and a little whore. So there's 1 of each. If that is if that is engaged with you during the enemy phase, it does that many horror and that many damage to you. So obviously the more powerful enemies are going to go ahead and do more damage to you. So I'll put that right engaged into him, and he will have to deal with that during his turn. Alright, so up first I'm going to go ahead and we're into the investigation phase. So that means our investigators are going to take a turn performing 3 actions again. So I'm going to go ahead and activate Roland Banks since he's got this ghoul minion attached to him. So I needed to have something that does 2 or higher, and then he's got 2 damage. So the good thing about the 45 automatic is I can go ahead and use 1 action, and I'll use 1 ammo, and then I get +1 to my combat, making it 5, and then this attack deals +1 damage, so it'll actually do 2 damage. So that's really what I'm looking for. So let me see if I have anything. Yeah. Okay, so I have a card here, physical training. It has 2 different skills up here. It has a willpower and then a combat. I'm just going to use it, and I just get to have that combat because I'm not doing a willpower test right now. So I'm going to add that to it. I'm going to use 1 ammo, so it's only got 3 ammo left. And then that bumps my skill up to 5. This will bump it up to 6. So I'm just making sure that I kill this thing. I don't want to waste an extra action trying to kill this ghoul minion thingy. Okay, I got a +1, so I didn't need to do any of that. But the 45 automatic does add an extra damage to it, doing 2. So that will kill this. And then the reason why I wanted to kind of use this one first is, remember his little ability, after you defeat an enemy, discover 1 clue at your location, limit 1 per round. So I killed an enemy at the location where there was the ghoul minion, and let's put that back where it belongs. So I actually get a clue. So boom, very cool. All right, so let's move along. He has 2 more actions. So with my second action, I'm gonna go ahead and search. I'm gonna try to, pick up a clue, excuse me. So base skill of 3, and this is 1. So I need to draw something good out of here. Okay, I got a tombstone, and then we'll go over here and -2, and if there's a ghoul enemy at your location, take 1 damage. So if that other guy was still there, I would have taken 1 damage. So it's -2, which actually is fine. It drops my base skill down to 1. The shroud level here is 1. I still succeed. Okay, put that right on him. And then, the last one, I'll go ahead, I'll try it again, and we'll see what happens. Oh, and then Wendy moved into here, so I forgot to do this. I'm pretty sure that she takes a horror too whenever you move into there, so that's something I forgot to do. Sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to do it one more time for his last action. -1, awesome, drops it to 2, which is what I need. So I have grabbed this, and then whenever you grab all the clues out of a location, you actually get an experience point. They call experience victory in this for some reason. So if you see a victory point on a location, try to get all the clues off of it and you get the victory point. Or there's enemies that'll have victory points, and then you can actually upgrade your cards in the next campaign or scenario or whatever. Okay, so that was my 3 actions for Roland. I'm gonna flip him over. Now we're gonna go on to Wendy. And for Wendy, I am going to equip this baseball bat, and then this actually takes 2 hands, so her hands are literally full. No pun intended. So I gotta spend 2 resources. I'll put that back up there into the pool. And now this is equipped, and she has 2 actions left, and I am going to draw. Or actually, I'm going to use 1 action to move into here, and then 1 action to move into the cellar. So I'll flip over the cellar. Oh, and it's got a shrouded ability of 4, so that is not good. So I equipped the bat, I moved into here, 2nd action, and then my 3rd action was to move into there, and then I am going to be forced to take a damage. So we'll go ahead and put that right onto that. And then that is going to be it for her. And we're going to move on to the enemy phase. No enemies. Upkeep. We're going to go ahead and flip each one of our investigators. And then we're going to go ahead and ready all exhausted cards. Good to go. Each investigator gets a resource token. And then we're going to draw a card.